Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have a massive, and I mean massive, October book haul for you. So stay tuned. So I somehow managed to accumulate 59 books in October. And that doesn't even include, I got a couple of e-arcs as well, but I'm not including that in this. I think if I included that, I'd have 64, I think. Insane. So I kind of have these split up into, these are books that I got, let me see. Okay, some of these are books I bought from McKays. Others are books that I got as like a giveaway or sent to me by the author. Also books that I got in subscription boxes. And then over here are ones that I got from various places online. I think they're all online. There may be some like from a store. Alright. I think I'm going to start with, because it's a bigger stack and I actually have more stuck in front of it, I'm going to start with the books that I got from McKays here. So this first one is actually one that I'm going to be sending to my friend Kaylani, who has a book channel as well, and I will link her down below. She's one of the co-hosts for the Merry Bookmas this year. And, well, at McKays you can get used books, including arcs that are like, you know, past the date. They'll sell them cheap. So I actually already had an arc of this book and forgot about it. And so I ended up buying a used arc for $1.50. And that is This Train is Being Held by Ismee Williams. And I'm just going to send this to Kaylani so she can read it. But it's about these two people who keep meeting in this subway, and over the course of like 2 years, a romance evolves, and like the hardships that both are facing separately, and whether they'll let the other one in on what's going on really in the rest of their lives and not just what happens on this train. But that's what this is about, and I will be sending that on to Kaylani. Sorry, my dogs are barking. Alright, next up we have The Jumbies by Tracy Baptiste. And this is a middle grade book. I don't really know too much about this. I know that Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin and Jade from JD Ray Reads, they both read this recently as part of their some readathon, I think, or either their middle grade monthly. I can't remember. And I happened to see this at McKays, so I got it. It says, Corinne Lemire isn't afraid of anything. Not scorpions, not the boys who tease her, and certainly not jumbies. She knows that jumbies aren't real. They're just creatures parents make up to frighten their children. But on All Hallows Eve, Corinne chases an agouti all the way into the Forbidden Woods. Those shining yellow eyes that follow her to the edge of the trees, they couldn't belong to a jumbie, or could they? Corinne begins to notice odd occurrences after that night. First, she spots a beautiful stranger speaking to the town witch at the market. Then this same beauty, called Severine, turns up at Corinne's house cooking dinner for her father. Danger is in the air, sure enough. Bewitching Corinne's father is the first step in Severine's plan to claim the entire island for the Jumbies. Corinne must call on her courage and her friends and ancient magic to stop Severine and to save her island home. Next up we have The Bromance Book Club by Lisa Kay. And this says, Nashville legend second baseman Gavin Scott's marriage is in major league trouble. He's recently discovered a humiliating secret. His wife, Thea, has always faked the big O. When he loses his cool at the revelation, it's the final straw in their already strained relationship. Thea asks for a divorce, and Gavin realizes he's let his pride and fear get the better of him. Welcome to the Bromance Book Club. Distraught and desperate, Gavin finds help from an unlikely source, a secret romance book club made up of Nashville's top alpha men. With the help of their current read, a steamy Regency novel titled Courting the Countess, the guys coach Gavin on saving his marriage. But it'll take a lot more than flowery words and grand gestures for this hapless Romeo to find his inner hero and win back the trust of his wife. And this sounds super cute. I've also seen come up on my Amazon like recommends and stuff. I think there's like a couple of sequels to this. There's at least one, but I think there's actually 2 sequels to this. This sounds super cute. I love a bookish book, like with bookish characters or set in a bookish setting or a book within a book, things like that. So this is going to be such a fun read and I cannot wait. Next up we have The Friend Zone by Addie Jimenez. And this one says, Kristen Peterson doesn't do drama, will fight to the death for her friends and has no room in her life for guys who just don't get her. She's also keeping a big secret, facing a medically necessary procedure that will make it impossible for her to have children. Planning her best friend's wedding is bittersweet for Kristen, especially when she meets the best man, Josh Copeland. He's funny, sexy, never offended by her mile-wide streak of sarcasm, and always one chicken enchilada ahead of her hangry. Even her dog, Stuntman Mike, adores him. The only catch? Josh wants a big family someday. Kristen knows he'd be better off with someone else, but as their attraction grows, it's harder and harder to keep him at arm's length. The Friend Zone will have you laughing one moment and grabbing for tissues the next, as it tackles the realities of infertility and loss with wit, heart, and a lot of sass. And again, this sounds super cute. And then we have Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. So I read Fangirl a while back and I really enjoyed it, and I know that this is sort of like a Harry Potter fanfic type thing, but also I think it's more of a fanfic of a fanfic, I think, because in Fangirl she's writing Carry On, but Carry On was her fanfic of something else, so it's like fanfic of fanfic. Oh, but what I gather is this is like a queer Harry Potter type thing. It says, Simon Snow is the worst chosen one who's ever been chosen. That's what his roommate Baz says. And Baz might be evil and a vampire and a complete git, but he's probably right. Half the time, Simon can't even make his wand work, and the other half, he sets something on fire. His mentor's avoiding him, his girlfriend broke up with him, and there's a magic-eating monster running around wearing Simon's face. Baz would be having a field day with all this if he were here. It's their last year at the Waterford School of Magic, and Simon's infuriating nemesis didn't even bother to show up. Carry On is a ghost story, a love story, and a mystery. It is just as much kissing and talking as you'd expect from a Rainbow Rowell novel, but far, far more monsters. And I really enjoyed Fangirl, so I'm really looking forward to this. Next we have The Last Voyage of Poe Blythe by Ali Condi. And I don't really remember what this was about, but I remember it getting like really good reviews, and I enjoyed Ali Condi's other books, so I wanted to get this. This says, who do you become when you have nothing left to lose? There is something Poe Blythe, the 17-year-old captain of the Outpost's last mining ship, wants far more than the gold they tear from the Serpentine River. Revenge. Poe has vowed to annihilate the river raiders who robbed her of everything 2 years ago. But as she navigates the treacherous waters of the Serpentine and realizes there might be a traitor among her crew, she must also reckon with who she has become, who she wants to be, and the ways love can change and shape you, even and especially when you think all is lost. Okay. So I am curious how I'm going to feel about this one. One of the cool things about McKays is you can like trade in books, so books that I have taken there to unhaul, I get credit for, and then I purchase these books with that credit. So I don't actually have to pay for them out of cash, which is very, very cool. So I can get some of these that I'm like, I don't know if I really will like it. I just know I've heard of it and it sounds really good. Or people say that it's good, so I can check it out. But I have read one other book by this author and really enjoyed it. And so I want to read more by them, and everybody seems to love them. And that is Final Girls by Riley Sagar. Don't know anything about this other than I like Riley Sagar's other books, or other book that I read. Okay, so this is about essentially 3 different girls who are final girls. They've each suffered some seriously traumatic event where everybody that they were with was murdered, and they're the final girl. They're the only one surviving, and they've kind of been lumped together in this final girls club or whatever. But none of them want to meet. None of them want to have anything to do with each other. They just want to like put the past in the past and get on with life. But then one of them, the first final girl, is found dead in her tub, and the second final girl shows up on the third final girl's doorstep, and well, things get crazy. That's what this is about. Next up we have Home Before Dark, also by Riley Sagar. Okay, so this is about a girl named Maggie whose family moved into this house, and then within 20 days they fled in the dark of night because of all of the ghosts and horrible things that happened in this house. And Maggie's father writes a book detailing everything that happened in this house. Now, Maggie probably sees this as very skeptical and, you know, doesn't really think all these things actually happen, and a lot of people don't believe they actually happen. But when Maggie's father passes away, he leaves the house to her, so she goes to renovate it so she can get it up for sale, but the locals are not happy about what Maggie's father has done to their town, and also the house might be as haunted as her dad said. And I've also heard really good things about this. Okay, so those are all of the books that I got from McKays. Now let's do books. Here, let me add these to the top. Books that I've gotten from subscription boxes. So the first one we have here is actually a book that I already have multiple copies of, but it's a different edition. This is the Puffin Classic edition of The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgkin Burnett. And let's see, is there any, doesn't look like there's any illustrations throughout. But this is about a girl named Mary Lennox who, after her parents die, has to leave India and go live with her uncle in England. And she's very lonely there, and then one day she discovers this key that takes her into this secret garden, and well, that's what the story's about. Next up we have The Girl in the Witch's Garden by Erin Bowman, and this is such a pretty cover. This says, Mallory Estate is the last place 12-year-old Piper Peavy wants to spend her summer vacation. The grounds are always cold, the garden out back is dead, a mysterious group of children call the property home, and there's a rumor that Melina M. Mallory, the owner of the estate and Piper's wealthy grandmother, is a witch. But when Piper's father falls ill, Mallory Estate is exactly where Piper finds herself. The grand house and its garden hold many secrets, some of which may even help save her father. And Piper will need to believe in herself, her new friends, and magic if she wants to unlock them before it's too late. Next we have Straw into Gold, Fairy Tales Respun by Hilary McKay, illustrated by Sarah Gibb. And this is like an anthology of modern day fairy tale retellings. So, for example, we have The Tower and the Bird, or Rapunzel. Straw into Gold, or Rumpelstiltskin. The Roses Round the Palace, or Cinderella. The Fountain in the Market Square, or The Pied Piper of Hamelin, Chickenpox and Crystal, or Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, The Prince and the Problem, or The Princess and the Pea, Over the Hills and Far Away, or Red Riding Hood and the Piper's Son, Things Were Different in Those Days, or The 12 Dancing Princesses, What I Did in the Holidays and Why Hansel's Jacket is So Tight by Gretel, age 10, or Hansel and Gretel, Sweet William by Rushlight, or The Swan Brothers. And I love fairy tale retelling, so I'm really excited to read this. Next up we have The Girl and the Ghost by Hannah Alkaf. And this says, Soraya is delighted when her witch grandmother gifts her a pelicet. She names her ghostly companion Pink, and the two quickly become inseparable. But Soraya doesn't know that pelicets have a dark side, and they are not above hurting others to ensure their master's happiness. Pink never knew what true friendship was until she met Soraya. But when Soraya starts making human friends, Pink feels the sting of betrayal, and jealousy begins to overtake him. Soon Pink's shadows threaten to consume them both, and Soraya and Pink must find enough light to survive before they are lost to the darkness. And this sounds really good. Okay, actually I forgot that I had those a little out of order because that other stack was subscription boxes, but some of these here are subscription boxes and some are not. So this first one is actually a giveaway that I won, and that is The 10th Girl by Sarah Faring. And this is, let's see, simmering in Patagonian myth, The 10th Girl is a gothic psychological thriller with a haunting twist. At the very southern tip of South America looms an isolated finishing school. Legend has it that the land will curse those who settle there. But for Mavi, a bold Buenos Aires native fleeing the military regiment that took her mother, it offers an escape to a new life as a young teacher to the daughters of Argentina's elite. Mavi tries to embrace the strangeness of the imposing house, despite warnings not to roam at night, threats from an enigmatic young man, and rumors of mysterious others. But when students and teachers alike begin to behave as if possessed, the forces haunting this unholy cliff will no longer be ignored, and one of these spirits holds a secret that could unravel Mavi's existence. I actually won 3 copies of this as sort of a book club thing, and so I've got one, and then I'm also sending one to Kaylani and one to Clint, since they're both co-hosts for Merry Bookmas. Okay, this next one is actually the second book in a series, and the publisher sent me the second book. I don't think this is the ARC. I think it's actually a finished copy. But the first book, the author is sending me a copy of that. So I'm going to have to pull up on Goodreads so I can tell you about these. But the one that the publisher sent me is called The Desert Prince. And this is by Alicia Sevigny, I think is how it's pronounced. And the one that the author is going to be sending me is Lost Scroll of the Physician. Though the publisher did send me an e-arc of the first book, or an e-copy if I wanted to read it that way. Anyway, this is what Goodreads says about Lost Scroll of the Physician. This is middle grade. It says, in her search for answers, Sesha must find a priceless scroll for the pharaoh. Sesha and Kai, children of the pharaoh's royal physician, are left charming snakes and stealing food to survive after a brutal fire takes their parents and their home. Unsure of whom to trust, the pair are found and brought back to the palace despite misgivings that the royals are somehow involved in their parents' deaths. Sesha is tasked with finding the rare and valuable medical document her father was transcribing for the pharaoh, who needs it urgently for his upcoming campaign. Befriended by another scribe and a young princess, Sesha must navigate palace intrigue and temple treachery while desperately seeking the priceless scroll that not only has the power to reveal the circumstances around her parents' death and mitigate any casualties of battle, but may also be the only thing that can save her brother's life. So, cool. Next up, okay, So here's where we get into the ones that where the subscription boxes and the giveaways kind of get mixed. So this next book I have 2 copies of because one came in an Owl Crate box and one I won from a giveaway. So I have 2 copies of Legendborn. So let me see. This is the Owl Crate version. This is the regular version. The colors are just flipped. And then there is a difference with the inside of the cover as well as the actual hardcover. So in the normal one, it's just plain. In the Owl Crate one, it has "This is your beginning." Oh, also, the spine is different. So the spine on this one is like, the words are gold. And the spine on the regular one, the words are like red and blue. And this is what the regular book looks like. And this is what the Owl Crate one looks like. And the Owl Crate one's signed. But I did acquire both of these in October. So let me tell you about this one. What I do know is I think there's like Arthur and Merlin and the Round Table mixed with like modern day and a boarding school. Yeah, let me read this. After her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants nothing to do with her family memories or childhood home. A residential program for bright high schoolers at UNC Chapel Hill seems like the perfect escape until Bree witnesses a magical attack her very first night on campus. A flying demon feeding on human energies. A secret society of so-called Legendborn students who hunt the creatures down. And a mysterious teenage mage who calls himself a Merlin and who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memory of everything she saw. The mage's failure reveals Bree's own unique magic and a buried memory with a hidden connection. The night her mother died, another Merlin was at the hospital. Now that Bree knows there's more to her mother's death than what's on the police report, she'll do whatever it takes to find out the truth, even if that means infiltrating the Legendborn as one of their initiates. She recruits Nick, a self-exiled Legendborn with his own grudge against the group, and the reluctant partnership pulls them deeper into the society's secrets and closer to each other. But when the Legendborn reveal themselves as the descendants of King Arthur's knights and explain that a magical war is coming, Bree has to decide how far she'll go for the truth and whether she should use her magic to take the sorcery down or join the fight. And I love this kind of thing, but I also love, like, I love the boarding school type thing, but I also really love, like, Merlin and King Arthur and all of that, so I'm really excited for this. So, this next book, I think I got one in Owl Crate, and the other came, I think, in a different month, but it was a giveaway. But I've pulled it off my shelf just so that you can see the difference between the regular and the Owl Crate. So the regular one, which is the one I won, is Incinerary by Zordea Cordova. And here is the Owl Crate version. So these covers are very different. Can't remember if there were any other differences or not. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any other difference except for the Owl Crate one is signed and the regular one is not. But I actually prefer the regular cover. So I think I'm gonna take the book out of this one and put it in the regular cover just because I'll have the signed copy with the better cover. Anyway, this one says, Renata was only a child when she was kidnapped by the king's justice and brought to the luxurious palace of Andalusia. As a memory thief, the rarest and most feared of the magical Moria, Renata was used by the crown to carry out the king's wrath, a siege that resulted in the deaths of thousands of her own people. Now Renata is one of the Whisperers, rebel spies working against the crown. The Whispers may have rescued Renata years ago, but she cannot escape their mistrust and hatred, or the overpowering memories of the hundreds of souls she drained during her time at the palace. When Des, the commander of her unit and the boy she's grown to love, is taken captive by the notorious Principe Dorado, Renata must return to Andalusia and complete Des's top-secret mission herself. Can she keep her cover even as she burns for vengeance against the brutal, enigmatic prince? Her life and the fate of the Moria depend on it. But returning to the palace stirs childhood memories long locked away. As Renata grows more deeply embedded in the politics of the royal court, she uncovers a secret in her past that could change the fate of the entire kingdom and end the war that has cost her everything. Sounds amazing. Okay, the next book that I have here is one that I got from an Owl Crate special edition box. Or an Owl Crate exclusive box. I don't know. It was, I think, just the book and like a pen. That was all that came in this box. But it's like a special cover and everything. And this book sounds so good. And I really wanted the like special cover. So here's what the back looks like. And it's got these foiled edges. And here's the front. And oh, so excited for this book. It sounds amazing. I pulled it up on Goodreads because there's not a dust jacket with this. So I'm not really sure where I'd read about it other than pulling it up on Goodreads. Lesson 1 of the Schoolomance. Learning has never been this deadly. A deadly education is set at Schoolomance, a school for the magically gifted where failure means certain death, for real. Until one girl, Elle, begins to unlock its many secrets. There are no teachers, no holidays, and no friendships, save strategic ones. Survival is more important than any letter grade, for the school won't allow its students to leave until they graduate, or die. The rules are deceptively simple. Don't walk the halls alone, and beware of the monsters who lurk everywhere. Elle is uniquely prepared for the school's dangers. She may be without allies, but she possesses a dark power strong enough to level mountains and wipe out millions. It would be easy enough for Elle to defeat the monsters that prowl the school. The problem? Her powerful dark magic might also kill all the other students. And I just think this sounds amazing. And I love this cover. And, oh, so this is, I think, just book 1 in the series. So I'm like excited for the entire series of this already. Next up, we have another Owl Crate book with pretty purple sprayed edges. And that is Star Daughter by Shavita Thakrar. And this says, if the night sky holds many secrets, it holds Chatal Mystery's secret the closest. A secret that explains why her hair is the silver of starlight, or why some nights the stars call Sheeta by name. Stars like her mother who returned to her place in the constellation Pushya years ago. Since that day, Chatal has been forced to hide. But as her 17th birthday draws near, the pull of the sky is growing stronger, so strong that Chatal loses control and a flare of starfire burns her human father, an injury only a full star's blood can heal. Chatal has no choice but to answer the star song and ascend to the sky, but her celestial family has summoned her for a reason, to act as their human champion in a competition to decide the next ruling house of the heavens. Desperate to save her father, Chatal agrees, but nothing could have prepared Chatal to face the star's dark history, or the forces that are working to shut the gate between the realm for good. And I also think this sounds really, really good. Okay, next is another Owl Crate book, and this one also has no dust jacket. It's just made onto the hardcover, and that is Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis. And this is also a very pretty book. So I've pulled up again on Goodreads what this one says. In a city covered in ice and ruin, a group of magicians face off in a daring game of magical feats to find the next headliner of the conquering circus, only to find themselves under the threat of an unseen danger striking behind the scenes. As each act becomes more and more risky and the number of missing magicians piles up, 3 are forced to reckon with their secrets before the darkness comes for them next. The star, Kalia, a powerful showgirl out to prove she's the best no matter the cost. The Master, Jack, the enigmatic keeper of the club, and more than one lie told. The Magician, DeMarco, the brooding judge with the dark past he can no longer hide. Where Dreams Descend is the startling and romantic first book in Janella Angelis's debut Kingdom of Cards fantasy duology, where magic is both celebrated and feared, and no heart is left unscathed. Ooh, so if I really like this, more than likely, I imagine Owlcrate will come out with a second book for this with a special cover as well. So if I like this, I'll have to get the other one. Next up, we have Witchy by Ariel Slamet Race. And this is a graphic novel. This came in an Owlcrate box. It says, in the Witch Kingdom Highland, the strength of your magic is determined by the length of your hair. Those that are strong enough are conscripted by the Witch Guard, who enforce the law in peacetime and protect the land during war. However, those with hair judged too long are pronounced enemies of the kingdom and annihilated. This is called a witch burning. Next up, we have another Owlcrate book, and that is Bone Crier's Moon by Catherine Purdy. And this also has sprayed edges. I'm not entirely sure if they're supposed to be gold or green. They kind of look green, but on the camera it looks a little more gold. I don't know. This says, wow, this is hard to read. This says, Bone Criers have a sacred duty. They alone can keep the dead from preying on the living, but their power to ferry the spirits of the dead into Goddess Alara's night heavens or Tarus's underworld comes from sacrifice. The gods demand a promise of dedication, at the cost of the Bone Criers' one true love. Elise has been prepared since birth to become the matriarch of the Bone Criers, but first she must complete her rite of passage and kill the boy she's also destined to love. Bastion's father was slain by a Bone Crier, and he's been seeking revenge ever since. But his vengeance comes too late. Elise's ritual has begun, and now their fates are entwined, in life and in death. Sabine has never had the stomach for the Bone Crier's work. But when her best friend Elise is taken captive, Sabine will do whatever it takes to break the bond between Elise and Bastion, before they all die. The first pulse-pounding novel in a new duology from the New York Times bestselling author of Burning Glass shines the doomed romance, macabre magic, and a betrayal with the power to shatter the boundary between the living and the dead. Okay, this next book, I can't remember if it came in an Owlcrate or an Unplugged book box, but that is Horrid by Katrina Leno. And this one says, oh, it's Owlcrate. This one says, is this grief, mental illness, or something more horrid? Following her father's death, Jane North Robinson and her mom... Sorry, Katniss is bumping into the tripod. Anyway, this says, is this grief, mental illness, or something more horrid? Following her father's death, Jane North Robinson and her mom, Ruth-Ellen, moved from sunny California to the dreary, debilitated old house in Maine where Ruth grew up. All they want is a fresh start, but behind North Manor's doors lurks a history that leaves them feeling more alone and more tortured. As the cold New England autumn arrives and Jane settles into her new home, she finds solace in old books and memories of her dad. She steadily begins making friends, but Jane also faces bullying from the resident bad seed and struggles to tamp down her own worst nature in response. Ruth seems to be spiraling with the return of her childhood home, but she won't reveal why. Then Jane discovers that the storage room Ruth has kept locked isn't for storage at all. It's a little girl's bedroom, left untouched for years, and not quite as empty of inhabitants as it appears. Okay. Interesting. This one came in an Owlcrate Junior box, and that is A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This is another book that I know that Gavin and Jade have read for their like middle grade monthly or whatever. This one says, all Betty Wintershins wants is an adventure. One that takes her far away from the gloomy island where she's always lived. But instead of an adventure, Betty and her sisters, Fliss and Charlie, are each given a magical object. A carpet bag, a set of nesting dolls, and a mirror. And these gifts come with their own terrible secret. Their family is haunted by a deadly curse. The sisters set out to change their fate, but when a mysterious prisoner claims he can help them, they find themselves in great danger. And in order to break the curse and stay alive, they must unravel a mystery that goes back centuries, one that involves shipwrecks, smugglers, and sorcery of the most perilous kind. And this sounds really good. I know that they really enjoyed this and have like moved on to the sequel as well. Next in an Owlcrate box we have Fright Lipo, an encyclopedia of everything scary, creepy, and spine-chilling from arachnids to zombies by Julie Winterbottom. And this is just all about different scary stuff, like rats or a Ouija board. Next is another Owlcrate Junior book, and this is Quintessence by Jess Redman. And this says, Alma of the growing light, there is quintessence inside you. Alma Lucas doesn't feel like herself anymore. 3 months ago, her family moved to the town of 4 Points. Her panic attacks started a week later and they haven't stopped, even though she told her parents that they did. She is friendless and homesick, and inside she feels dark. Then one night, Alma watches as a star that looks like a golden child, falls from the sky and into her backyard. Alma knows what it's like to long for home, and she promises to help the starling return to the sky no matter what. But she can't do it alone. Alma will need the help of the enigmatic shopkeeper, an ancient alchemy book, and some unexpected new friends from Astronomy Club. All of them must join together to create quintessence, a magical element that can send the starling home. And so an adventure begins, an adventure that will take a little bit of science, a little bit of magic, and a spark of light that just might change the universe. Quintessence is a stunning story of friendship, self-discovery, interconnectedness, and the inexplicable elements that make you, you. Okay, this next one came in my Unplugged Book Box Autumn Limited Edition box, and that is Murder Goes to Market by Daisy Bateman. And this is about a lady named Claudia who left the tech world in San Francisco and moved to a coastal town of San Elmo Bay. She now specializes in artisanal, locally made goods. And when one of her market vendors is strangled to death with a wire, Claudia is now the main suspect. And when other bodies turn up, she gets in hotter water. And if things weren't complicated enough, the chief's newest hire is pretty darn cute. And I think this is gonna be fun. Okay, this next book came in, I think, Owlcrate Junior, and that is The Barren Grounds by David A. Robertson. And this says, Morgan and Eli, two indigenous children forced away from their families and communities, are brought together in a foster home in Winnipeg, Manitoba. They each feel disconnected from their culture and from each other, and they struggle to fit in at school and their new home, until they find a secret place walled off in an unfinished attic bedroom. A portal opens to another reality, Aski bringing them into frozen barren grounds where they meet Ochek Fisher, the only hunter supporting his starving community, Miswa. Ochek welcomes the human children, teaching them traditional ways to survive. But as the need for food becomes desperate, they embark on a dangerous mission. Accompanied by Eric, a sassy squirrel they catch stealing from the trap line, they try to save Miswa before the icy grip of winter freezes everything, including them. And I think this is going to be an interesting read. Next up is one of the books that I am super excited for. This is a book that I also got a special edition Owl Crate box for, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And isn't this cover just stunning? This is about a woman named Addie LaRue who makes a deal with a devil, and it's to live forever. The downside of that is nobody will ever remember Addie, and there's no trace of her left behind anywhere. And she lives centuries like this until one day, while in a bookstore, she comes across a man who remembers her. And I'm super excited for this book. I really enjoy V.E. Schwab's writing, and so I'm really excited for this. I've heard really good things about it, and so I cannot wait to read this. Next up is one that came from an Unplugged book box, and that is The Holo Places by T. Kingfisher. And this says, newly divorced and living back home in rural North Carolina, Cara is helping out her alien, eccentric Uncle Earl at his house, which doubles as a tourist hotspot. The Glory to God Museum of Natural Wonders, Curiosities, and Taxidermy. While Cara is closing up one night, she discovers a mysterious hole in the drywall along one of the museum's overstuffed hallways of oddities. An opening that impossibility leads Cara and her new friend Simon to a sprawling area that simply can't be part of North Carolina's plane of existence. As they explore the apparently limitless depths of this bizarre and frightening new world, a hub containing portals to alternate realities, a bear witness to its cryptic warnings, they can hear you thinking, and pray they are hungry. Cara and Simon soon realize there is far more danger here than first anticipated, for they have stumbled upon a place of unyielding madness and terror, haunted by abysmal creatures that gather strength from one's innate fear of them. And I know this is also one of the Goodreads choice nominees for the category, I think, for horror. And then the last of the book subscription boxes, we have Eventide by Sarah Goodman. I think this also came in an Owl Crate, not Owl Crate, Unplugged book box. This one says, Wheeler, Arkansas, 1907. When their father descends into madness after the death of their mother, Verity Pruitt and her little sister Lila find themselves on an orphan train to rural Arkansas. In Wheeler, 11-year-old Lila is quickly adopted, but 17-year-old Verity is not. Desperate to stay close to her sister, Verity indentures herself as a farmhand. But even charming farm boy Abel Ashley can't completely distract her from the sense that something is not quite right in this little town. Strange local superstitions abound, especially about the eerie old well at the center of the forest. The woods play tricks, unleashing heavy fog and bone-chilling cold, and sometimes visions of things that aren't there. But for Verity, perhaps most unsettling of all, is the revelation that her own parents have a scandalous history in this very town. And as she tries to unearth the past, sinister secrets come with it, secrets that someone will go to violent lengths to protect. Eventide is a haunting tale of long-buried secrets, small-town scandal, and single-minded vengeance by talented debut novelist Sarah Goodman. So have you guys read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!